It's summer, and the smart student is ready to make an exchange trip. She flies from the US to Mexico to a little city called Chetumal. As she is an English native speaker, she will work as a language assistant at the University of Quintana Roo. On the first day, she notices that her EFLs have a very low level of English. They are beginners. But two of her students have an advanced level of English. There is also a student who finds very hard to pay attention because her father recently died. This is an effective filter for her. At the front of the class, there is a Belizean student who is an English native speaker too, but she speaks a different standard variety of English. So, this is the first class, and Mrs. Hill teaches the students how to introduce themselves to the class using phrases such as "my name is" and "I am 18 years old." But one student says her age and she says, "I have 18 years," because she made a transfer from Spanish to English. Advanced students get a target like by introducing themselves correctly, but beginners don't, so they listen carefully to advanced students to learn how to do it correctly. This is input. On the second day, the students have an English exam. Is it too soon? No! This exam is just to verify the level of English on every student. When the assistant reviews the exams, she finds so many errors, or maybe mistakes. We don't know, but yes, errors and mistakes are not the same thing. You must be wondering, what's the difference? Well, let's go back to the story and find out. Mrs. Hill gives the students their exams back, and she doesn't explain why most of them find some red ink on their exams. Actually, she just asks them to correct the exams. Of course, some of them notice the mistakes. That's why they are mistakes, because they notice. But the other ones have no idea about what is wrong, and that's the reason they are called errors. Got it? So we have mistakes and errors, and together they are called non-target-like forms. Now, those students who can't realize what is wrong are very angry. So, they go to visit the master, the boss, the unique Dr. and Professor Moises. They ask him for help because the assistant doesn't clear their doubts. As he is a descriptivist teacher, he understands the situation. So he talks to the assistant and asks her not to be a prescriptivist teacher. She should try to understand the status of the interlanguage in every student's head and take time to explain every student what they haven't understood. From this moment, the assistant changes her manners. She takes time for feedback and everyone is really happy now. As the time passes by, students learn more and more. They go through an input process. Okay. Stop there. Don't you know what is the input process? Okay, pay attention. Okay, you listen carefully, please. The input process model is a model that has three phases. The first one is from the input to intake. Then we have the second phase from intake to the developing system, and the third one from the developing system to output. When there is input of a new language, noticing happens. Noticing is the detection of new features to be learning. But in order to actually learn something, there has to be some rehearsal in order to connect a linguistic form to his function or meaning. In other words, form meaning connections. And that is how we get to intake. After this information goes through accommodation and restructuration to get some form function mappings. So, these form meaning connections get transformed into form function mappings, and that's how we get to interlanguage. So, all that is needed now is output. In this phase, we reproduce language and we may reproduce some target-like or non-target-like forms. These are automatic and automatized, which means that we can say them without thinking. In other words, effortless. Oof, that was a lot, right? Well, let's go back to the story. Where were we? An apple? No. An island? No. Oh, yeah, I remember. In the middle, students learn about universal grammar, which has a language acquisition device, and about general innatism that has no language acquisition device. But universal grammar depends on input, frequency, practice, automatization, and guesswork. Wait a minute. Stop. I forgot to talk about a very important topic. I forgot to talk about connectionism. If you want to know what this is, you can imagine all your neurons developing connections of varying strength. Automatic language is the result of strong connections. So that's enough of concepts. I'm sure you want to know what happened to the students. They are now in the end of the course and they are having an exam about the lexical aspect. They now are experts and know everything about telicity and durativity. They have finished the course with perfect grades. The boss, the master, the unique Dr. and Professor Moises takes students to a trip to practice output. Mrs. Hill is very happy living in Mexico, so we can say that they all lived happily ever after. And this is the end. Oh, no, 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 no. Professor, if we did something wrong, don't blame us. Blame our interlanguage. It's been great to have you as our professor. Thank you very much. And yes, this is the end.